Hey everybody, welcome to today's update on Daily IoT. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend, finished up watching the Olympics. Congratulations to the men's curling team from the US for bringing home gold. I said in a previous episode I was really into curling, and that was incredible. The comeback that they made, weren't even going to make it to the medal rounds, made it in, win gold. Awesome story. So let's hop into the update for today. So I spent conservatively 10 hours over the weekend trying to get an Alpine Docker image with the GNU ARM cross-compile tools installed so that I could build the particle firmware locally. Didn't work. I ran into a brick wall. I'm getting a seg fault in the CC1 executable, which is part of the compilation process, and there's a whole bunch of things with Alpine. It doesn't use glibc, it uses muscle for the compiler, and like my head almost exploded with all the things that I learned about Docker and compiling and the particle firmware over the weekend. But needless to say, I was not able to get it working in Alpine, but that is okay because it turns out the image size is not really that big of a concern given the size of everything else. The GNU ARM cross-compile tools are like 400 megs when you unzip them. And so, yeah, the image is a lot bigger than it would be. So my Debian image is like 100 megabytes. The Alpine image starts at 5. But after you install development tools, we're maybe saving like 50 or 60 megs on the image size. And then we're going to stack on hundreds of megabytes of other things to build. And so I'm okay with that. My image right now is ringing in at around 540 megs, which is several hundred megs smaller than the particle Docker image that I mentioned in the last episode. And that is not because I'm a genius and I'm doing it better than Particle. I'm just doing it differently than Particle. So Particle in their image includes the source code, which I found out is over 200 megs when you clone it. I didn't realize the repository was that big when you check out a branch. And so they're including it in the image. I didn't want to do that. I just have the source code on my local machine. That way I can actually make changes right there on my machine, and then they get mounted into the container that runs for compilation. And so that's just a different approach that I like. I like to have the source code local, let it build inside the container. The container can manage all the dependencies, and I can mess around with the source code on my machine. And so that's how I set it up. So it's like 540 some megs. And so yeah, but it's working. I was able to build our current release version 0.0.1 in my Docker container without touching the particle cloud and program it onto, this is my dev screen here, and it worked beautifully. And so I'm really excited about that. I've accomplished the goal that I set out to, which is to have a local way to compile the firmware without relying on the particle cloud. And so big success there. I'm really happy. Some other time I'll revisit the Alpine thing, but again, this is the rabbit hole, right? I could focus on that and spend weeks trying to get this to run in Alpine, and really at the end only accomplish the fact that I feel smart about it because I can compile with the image I have. It's just not as small as I'd like, which is fine. I need to keep moving forward on the product. And so that is where we're at. Oh, another update. The pretend production one that's sitting on my desk here is over 170 check-ins, which is enough to do at least 2 full regular seasons of updates, which I'm really excited about. And the battery is still doing great on that. And so as long as self-discharge, which I learned over the weekend for lithium-ion batteries, is around 5% a month, and as long as the sleep for long periods works, I think we are really looking good for at least a single season, including playoffs, on a single charge of the battery, maybe even getting into 2 seasons, which would be phenomenal. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask people, hey, once every season or 2, you need to recharge this thing for it to work. And so I'm really excited about how that's looking. Everything's great there. So next up, I don't know, I got so excited to film this because I finally got the compilation working that I haven't thought about what's next. I do want to start testing on the production thing longer sleep time. So it wakes up reliably every hour when I'm doing a deep sleep for an hour. I'd like to see how that works when my deep sleep is maybe a day. So maybe I'll change that to be a little longer. I'm not sure because I do like that the screen's updating so often to see how that will wear over long periods of time and doing lots of updates. And so that is where we're at. You know what? I don't know what I'm working on next. I'll fill you in tomorrow on that episode. I got to think about it tonight. I'm just really excited to share about the local compilation. And so figure that out. Question of the day. Now that the Olympics are over, what was your favorite Olympic moment this time around? Stick it in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow on Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning how to make the Internet of Things one day at a time.